Catch Browns Live, presented by Cross Country Mortgage throughout the 2021 training camp. Ken Carman and I bringing you all the action analysis and exclusive player and coach interviews live from practice. Well, you don't need to visit clevelandbrowns.com/Browns Live for show dates and times. I'm going to tell them to you right now. We will not have Browns Live today, with practice being accelerated and the expectation of inclement weather still rolling through here at the Cross Country Mortgage campus. We will, however, have 3 Browns Lives for you next week, the 18th, 19th, and 20th. 3 days in a row, the final big 3 days of training camp. We will have Browns Live for you. Those final 2, the 19th and the 20th, those 2 days are the days of the joint practices with the Giants. And Jim, seeing a lot of guys walking off here. Now here's an interesting one walking off with his leg wrapped, which we had not seen before, M.J. Stewart. And M.J. Stewart was a guy that you probably were expecting to play quite a bit on Saturday night at that safety room that is without Ronnie Harrison. It's without Grant Delpit. It's without Sheldrick Redwine. And now potentially could be without M.J. Stewart as well.
Yeah. Boy, that's quite a group walking off.
Denzel
into
Ward,
the
Jadeveon Clowney,
yeah.
Malik McDowell, Alexander Hollins, JoJo Natson. We saw Delpit earlier. It is Anthony Schwartz.
I have to tell you, incidentally, when you get up close to Grant Delpit, he is a big guy.
Yes. He is a specimen.
He is a specimen. You're right. So, these guys are going to be working right behind us on these bikes.
Oh.
And God bless them in this heat.
Oh,
I am amazed at a lot of the Browns coaching staff, that in this oppressive heat and humidity, a lot of them have sweatshirts on, hooded sweatshirts, jackets. I mean, really, wow, talk about getting a sweat. Chris Hubbard walking over here by us right now.
Yeah. I mean, I understand some people go with the long sleeves. You know, that's a Florida thing they do in Florida, long sleeves. I've got mine on, but you're right. They are working out right behind us, and the idea of having to do the rowing machine or the bike in this humidity is not ideal. And you're right, Chris Hubbard joining the crew over there. Jadeveon Clowney getting another Veterans Day off as well, as the Browns are really being cautious here. Myles Garrett making his way to join the party. Yep. Also, it's a pretty good team behind us.
That's a good team.
Jim.
Yeah, that would do very well. Hey, I want to go back to a question that was put to Kevin Stefanski about the soft tissue injuries. And, of course, it's happened here, and it's happening across the league. Wasn't that something that the NFLPA brought up a lot about, last season and what happened in the virtual offseason, and the fact that training camp was really pared down and there were no preseason games, that there was a decline in soft tissue injuries? J.C. Treader really spoke very fluently about that.
And the ramp-up period as well. I want people to know this, though. These guys are still all going through walkthroughs. So when you think of a hamstring injury, in your mind you're thinking this is a pull, this is a multiple-week thing as the guys are out there on the bikes. What a lot of the stuff they do is preventative. They're able to monitor the muscle and know when a player becomes at risk. And if that happens, they will shut them down to prevent it ever from getting to the point where you have a full tear, like we've seen for the Ravens and Rashad Bateman, their first-round pick, the wide receiver out of Minnesota, torn groin, and he's having surgery now and will be out into the start of the regular season.
Yeah. Boy, they're really hurting. I mean, the Ravens have been beaten up. Never mind the whole Lamar Jackson situation and his stance on vaccines and things like that. I know that's agitated a lot of people in that camp, and certainly around the NFL, a lot of people raising their eyebrows as to, what his stance is on that and his attitude. But the injury factor is big for them. And it's amazing how it always hits you in an area that you really look to bolster yourself anyway. I mean, it's kind of hit the Browns a little bit at safety once again. We're trying to get Delpit
to
get Delpit back. Ronnie Harrison, keep him on the field. Sheldrick Redwine has been nicked up. We're seeing other people, and so is there a safety in the house? But it kind of always comes back and it hits you in an area that you really think that you kind of addressed in the offseason to the point where you've bettered yourself or you've deepened yourself on the roster.
And, you look at Rashad Bateman, they said surgery, expects to return in September. I was trying to find a tweet that I saw earlier. 4 of their 5 starting offensive linemen are not at practice today. Patrick Ricard, that monster of a man, their fullback, not there. No Hollywood Brown, no Bateman. I think they have 4 guys in the receiver room that are not able to go. So, yeah, they are quite decimated. And an interesting question, another one was, what's your plan for the whole preseason?
Right.
And he didn't really. He said he kicked that can down the road, said we'll address that at the proper time. But I can tell you, Brandon Staley of the LA Chargers is saying Justin Herbert will not play at all in the preseason. We know Matt Stafford and any starters with the Rams will not play at all in their preseason. And you wonder if that's just becoming the trend. Look, guys came out and played well at the beginning of last year without a preseason. What's the reward?
It's interesting now in New England what they are going to do. I think they play tonight, don't they?
They do,
play Washington.
and they will both play.
They are both playing. Cam Newton's going to play, and Mac Jones is going to play, and the battle is on there. I mean, although Bill Belichick has kind of leaned towards Cam Newton, that he's the starting quarterback, but he is not going to get what typical is of the starters right now in this preseason, and he's not going to play at all. He is going to play. I think he's going to start tonight.
I believe that he is, and a little birdie told me that he believes they are going to both play. At least at the beginning of the season, they will both be playing.
In the regular season?
In the regular season.
Wow.
So the teams have to practice and plan for both of them. And it could be some type of situational thing. I think there's a growing sentiment coming out of San Francisco with the Niners that Jimmy will start, but there will be plenty of packages for Trey Lance, especially down in the red zone and near the goal line, where they can take advantage of his athletic ability. Fortunately, we don't have any issues like that. We've got our guy, which is a wonderful thing.
And in another camp, Nathan, the Jets camp, there seems to be great concern right now at how Zach Wilson is playing and what is going on with him. And how quickly he can come out of that will tell you if he's going to settle in as their guy. But there's a lot of pressure on that kid. Here they picked him, the program he comes out of, BYU, the market that he's in now, the state of that franchise anyway with the Jets, and the fact that they didn't get the number 1 pick
and the
when
fact
they won those games.
And the fact that it was a foregone conclusion that he was the guy at number 2.
Yeah.
It wasn't even in their minds a debate between Lance and Fields and Zach Wilson, and he struggled. It kind of reminds me of the reports last year with Tua when he was throwing the ball to the defense every day in camp. And and he said the exact same thing. I'm just trying to figure out what I can and can't get away with. And it appears we're learning rather quickly what you can't get away with.
Yeah, absolutely. So on Saturday night, everybody, I think it's going to be fun. I know, you're not going to see Nick Chubb, and you're not going to see Kareem Hunt. You're not going to see Baker Mayfield. But you are going to see the rookie class, and that will be fun. And it also will be fun to see some of these guys that we've been telling you about, as the coach described during his press conference, the sophomore class. How they're going to play, and they are going to play in this game coming up on Saturday night. And I think if you go into it with the right mindset, if you're a fan of the Browns, and you just accept the fact that, hey, listen, the starters are really good, and they got to be ready. The time clock hits for them on September 12th against Kansas City. But you're going to get a chance to see these young players who they want to play. Maybe they don't necessarily have to push them into the lineup right away. I think that's a pretty good Saturday night.
I think
if you go in knowing that, right?
Absolutely. And look, you're going to see Newsome, Owusu-Koramoah. You're going to see Donovan Peoples-Jones. You're going to see Demetric Felton, D'Ernest Johnson, Hollywood Higgins. You're going to see Harrison Bryant in his first preseason action. Guys that they're still counting on to play meaningful roles for this football team this year. You're going to see those guys on Saturday night and really have a chance, I think, to shine. And then, when you flip it over on the defensive side of the ball, you're gonna see Greedy and Greg Newsome. That's great. Those are 2 guys you want to watch in this cornerback room, guys that we're really counting on. From the safety room, these are guys fighting to make an impression on not only you, the fans, but the coaches to try to make this football team. And I think that's going to be fun. And then on the D-line, I think you have some nice competition at defensive end to try to make this team. You're not going to see Clowney, you're not going to see Miles, and you're not going to see Tack McKinley. So everybody else is trying to say, hey, I'm number 4, and maybe I can even be better than that. And so for the Porter Gustons, the Cameron Malveaux, the Curtis Weavers, Joe Jackson, Romeo McKnight, this is a game of great opportunity, and we are blessed as fans to have a team where the biggest battles are going to be coming for guys, trying to make this roster. The one area that you're going to see at pretty full strength, though, is the linebacker room, because you need to have linebackers to play, and you don't have Tony Fields, you don't have Montrell Meander due to injury. I'd imagine they'll be judicious with Anthony Walker Jr., although he went through teamwork yesterday and is going through drills again today.
Boy, he is a player.
I love everything about him.
Yeah, he is a player. He wants to be out there.
He does. But, you're going to see Mack and Phillips and Taki and JOK and Malcolm Smith and Elijah Lee because, frankly, you got to.
That's right.
There's no choice.
So the starting quarterback will be Case Keenum, and then it will be Kyle Lauletta. And the coach had an interesting way of describing what their method will be on Saturday night. He wants them to operate things. Get them in out of the huddle. Get them lined up the right way. And Case Keenum's been around the block a long time. So that's interesting. How do you think he accepts that?
I think he probably would say, hey, let me play as much as I can, but I think he understands he is very valuable, and most NFL seasons you might need him to step in for a game or two to steward this team. And so having Case Keenum healthy is very important.
Yeah.
And so I think he'll want the work, but I think he understands that we're probably going to see a lot more of Kyle Lauletta than we will Case Keenum.
As I go back to last year, the only time I remember we saw Case Keenum was in kind of a mop-up situation over in Pittsburgh, right?
Yep.
Baker had really been the game kind of got out of hand. Baker was playing with bad ribs.
Yep.
Didn't want to come out, remember? They had to go over and really convince him, it's not going to happen today. Let's get you out of there. And Case Keenum came in. Other than that, I don't remember him even coming in anymore on the season.
We didn't see him. That was it. And if history can repeat itself in that way, that's a wonderful thing for the Cleveland Browns.
Absolutely.
But I think it's you want to get Case out there, and Case knows how to run this offense. And so you want to get a look at a guy, for example, Donovan Peoples-Jones and Hollywood Higgins and Harrison Bryant. And I bet Demetric Felton's going to get some reps out there with Case Keenum, because you want to see the guys that have maybe caught your eye or piqued your interest with Case. And then Kyle Lauletta is going to be playing with a lot of guys that, frankly, he's probably thrown the ball to on multiple times in practice that he's worked with. And so those guys are going to get, I'd imagine, the bulk of the game.
And the other thing is the team will go down as a team. They're all going to go, and they're going to, the players who aren't playing, in other words, a lot of the starters who aren't going to play on Saturday night, they're going to work out. They're going to continue to conditions so that they're not just going to have 3 days off. But they are going to go down. I was wondering if they would do that or if they would keep some of them home, but they're not. They're all going down to Jacksonville. So as a group, they'll be down there and then come back next week for a big week for them when they come back and get the Giants in here.
And I think that is probably going to be the biggest week of this entire preseason period, is getting those joint practices, getting the 1-versus-1 work in controlled environments, getting all the situations, the red zone, the 2-minute drills, all of those things that you would not have otherwise gotten in a preseason, because my guess is I don't know how much we'll see, if at all we'll see these guys in the preseason. And if we do, my guess is it would be in Atlanta. It's
on that Sunday night,
I would think.
Yeah, because remember now, you got a little extra time before the start of the regular
2
season.
weeks.
Here's a question I have, and I lean towards Jacksonville on this one because I'm really intrigued as to what we're going to see, even in style of play. Now, Urban Meyer had an offense, obviously, in college and what he ran things. Darrell Bevell he brought with him, and they really didn't even know each other until he met him. As a matter of fact, he was going to hire somebody else, and then Bevell did so well in his interview that they came off the original candidate and came back to him, hired him as the offensive coordinator. So I wonder, is it a collaboration of offenses, or does Bevell bring his offense in? Is that the offense? Now, Bevell brought people with him. Marvin Jones came over in free agency. Jamal Agnew came over in free agency from the Lions to join him. I just wonder. I wonder how much of an influence the Urban Meyer offense versus what they're going to do in Jacksonville and what Bevell brought with him from Detroit.
That'll be fun to see. And Bevell's been in Seattle, and he's been around the league.
Around the league, right?
I think Urban Meyer. My understanding, and at least I remember we talked to Prisco about this, that Urban Meyer is basically going to be setting the culture, and it's going to be on the quality of his coordinators and the staffs that they assemble to really handle the offense and the defensive sides of the ball. So I think that's I think it will be a lot of Bevel. Now, he might put some things in. Remember how badly they wanted Kadarius Toney because, you think of Toney and his speed and what he can do in a spread type of a situation. But that will be interesting. By the way, based on what you were talking about earlier, I was just scrolling through Twitter, catching up on any of the latest news, and Urban gave a quote this morning that said, "It is an open quarterback competition."
Yeah, so if you weren't with us at the top of the show, there was a feeling down in Jacksonville that Gardner Minshew was getting maybe equal the amount of reps with the first team that Trevor Lawrence was getting. And why were you doing that? Why were you wasting the reps?
In his mind, the only thing that I can think of is that part of his culture setting is that nobody will be handed anything here. And so Trevor Lawrence, yes, you're the number one pick, but you will not just be handed the starting job. You will earn the starting job. And I would think it would behoove both Trevor Lawrence and the Jags for it to be declared he has won the starting job as quickly as possible so he can get the reps, which are incredibly valuable with that first team. Because it's not just, look, first starters and second team, you're both going to get reps. The starter will typically get more. They'll get one extra session per period. But it's about the guys that you're going to be playing with and getting on the same page. And so if you are trying to get on the same page as a DJ Chark or Travis Etienne, who I think they're doing a lot of what we're doing with Demetric Felton, where he's playing a lot of receiver down there for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Those are the things, Laviska Shenault. You want to have him getting those reps and having that understanding that can only come with time and drilling.
Yeah, it really will be fun to see. You're right about the culture change that he's implementing, and the he is Urban Meyer, and he's all over that. There's no doubt about it. A guy that was here, Joe Cullen, is running their defense for them. He is a terrific defensive line coach. Now, widespread as a coordinator, we'll wait and see on that, but he's a great coach wherever he's been. I hated to see him leave here, but everywhere he has gone, his defensive, and usually it was his defensive lineman, just loved him. He's a brilliant guy. He really does a great job. So that was a great hire, I think, for them.
Yeah, they've got some talent on that defensive line.
And a former Brown, Nick Sorensen, is their special teams coordinator. What a great guy he was here in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Boy, there was a preseason game, Nathan, one time. We were up at Ford Field in Detroit. It was the third preseason game, and Nick Sorensen, who was just an incredible special teams player, that's how he stayed in the league, just took an awful hit, and they carried him off, the worst scene in football, carried him off on the board, completely immobilized him. Man, I have to tell you, at the speed Nick played at, you just said to yourself, this could be really bad. Thank God he was okay. But then he got into coaching, and in that category, he's a special teams coach, and he really worked his way up. And I think he even went back to the college ranks and was a volunteer assistant coach, I think at Youngstown State at one point. Yeah, and got back into the NFL with his connections through his playing days, and now here he is. Good for him. He's a great guy, really terrific guy, and had no fear as a special teams guy. One of those guys, we talk about Elijah Lee, and Josh Cribbs was a great special teams player. This guy was just like that. I'm happy for him.
It is good. And look, I think that team's going to go where that staff can take it. And I think that's what a lot of people around the league, as I mentioned earlier, were looking at, who are the guys that they have brought in to be the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams coordinator, the position coaches. They're going to have a lot to do with what that product ultimately looks like on the football field, as Urban is focused on that culture and getting the talent in there and getting the most out of them and the motivational side of it. That is interesting. A lot of ties in this game. Joe Schobert, a longtime Brown, in the middle of that defense. Carlos Hyde still in the league down there with the Jacksonville Jaguars as well.
Such an interesting time period was it when Carlos Hyde was here and Nick Chubb was on the sideline, and Nick Chubb had that game in Oakland.
3 carries.
What do you have, like 135 yards
and 2
or
touchdowns.
something? And 2 touchdowns. And I remember asking Hugh Jackson in his Monday press conference, what's the deal with Chubb? And he kept going, absolutely. Got to get him more carries. And the next week he had 3 carries again.
4,
And they finally had to move him. They had to move Carlos Hyde. And really, Carlos Hyde was playing very well.
Fine, yes.
Yeah. I remember when they won that night against the Jets when they broke the losing streak. And Carlos Hyde had I know he had 1 touchdown, maybe 2 in the game. He was really good down on the goal line. And
Excellent.
he had to bolt right out of the locker room because his wife was giving birth that night, remember?
I do recall that, yes. And he was always a pleasure to talk to. We enjoyed our time here. And, the Nick Chubb, you mentioned that game in Oakland. So there have been over 1,200 games in NFL history where a running back has rushed for more than 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. There's only been one time when somebody's done it on 3 or fewer carries, and that was Nick Chubb.
That's our guy.
Against the Oakland Raiders. Oh, man. Yeah, we'll get him the ball a little bit more. Well, how about we get him even a little bit more?
Absolutely. Got to give him some more carries.
Listen, and remember, he ended that season. He was over 1,000, has the tackle for a loss, ends up at, 995, 996?
996, I think. I think he was 4 yards shy.
4 yards shy of it. You wonder, hey, if he actually touched the ball in the first 6 weeks, what does he finish with
and if
in
you
that season?
And if you go back, Nathan, maybe on that last drive, although I know the clock was sprinkling on them, if they just could have gotten them the ball maybe one more time, but he was such a team guy, didn't bother him at all.
No.
He was more disappointed that they couldn't get in line to kick the field goal and beat the Ravens with the Steelers, remember, sitting on their bench at Heinz Field watching the game on the video board. Finding out they didn't make the playoffs.
No, they did not. No, they did not. But that was, and we hope to have an exciting conclusion again at the end of this season. We talked about yesterday that stretch of the schedule. You get the Ravens twice, you get the Steelers on Monday Night Football, you get the Packers on Christmas, the Las Vegas Raiders here. The Browns now have gone through their stretching here for practice today. Sky still looks pretty good.
It does.
Feeling pretty good about our ability to get this practice in, which is a good thing. You don't like the size of the MASH unit, though, and you don't like the addition of M.J. Stewart, who was a guy that I think was going to get a lot of reps at safety and really valuable reps not only for him but for this football team. And so that safety room now is fairly decimated. They're huddling up on the far field, and they will get into work again. No pads today. I expect this to be a pretty light day on a Thursday before travel day tomorrow, and then you head down for the game on Saturday. But, Jim, we talked about the safety room now.
Who will pick up those?
Who's left?
Reps?
So here's who's left. Javonte Moffitt,
who has had a great camp.
Elijah Benton, who was an undrafted free agent a year ago.
He's had a pretty good camp.
And Richard LeCount.
Well, good for Richard LeCount.
And I think
I'm sure they'll be very interested to see him.
But you got 3 safeties, unless I'm missing somebody for the game. Because John Johnson III, I cannot imagine, given everything else that's happened, that he would get any reps at all in this game. So, yeah, you're pretty banged up on the back end there. I venture to say we're not going to see a whole lot of the dime defense in this game. We might see a lot more base than we would be accustomed to because you're kind of banged up. You're going to have corners that are down. You're going to have safeties that are down. You might see 3 linebackers on the field a lot and a pretty vanilla look there from Joe Woods at the preseason opener.
Boy, maybe ball control would be the way to get it done down there on Saturday. Hold on to the football, grind it out, and keep the clock running. Keep the clock running down there.
Roll, Willie, roll, as they like to say. But I'd imagine we're going to have a defense that's going to start somewhere like this. Porter Gustin and either Cameron Malveaux and Curtis Weaver at defensive end. Your defensive tackles, probably Jordan Elliott and Tommy Togiai, although Billings might be one of the guys because he opted out that they might want to get a little bit of work to. Linebackers, it'll probably be Jacob Phillips, Mac Wilson, Sione Takitaki. Corners, Newsome and Greedy. Safeties, Javonte Moffitt and probably Richard LeCount.
I'm really interested to see LeCount.
I am too.
I really am. He's a draft pick. He's a great, he's a good recovery story. He had a bad injury at Georgia, but he had a great start to his Georgia career. I mean, really.
This is a 5-star recruit. The Buckeyes were hot and heavy after him. He ends up going to Georgia. First team All-SEC, which that is, to me, a pretty strong accolade in the collegiate ranks. And now here he comes to the Cleveland Browns. And so in this practice, maybe we'll get a little bit of an idea of some things. But John Johnson still going through practice. I would, again, be surprised. He didn't mention him by name, but he said the majority of our starters. And you have to imagine John Johnson III is right at the top of the list of the guys you want to see. I can tell you Cameron Malveaux and Porter Gustin working as the first-team defensive ends right now. Again, they're on the far field going through a little bit of a team period now. And a little too far for us to see, but this is very – very slow speed as they go through some things just to get some work in, some looks. And I think it's, hey, let's get down there with some guys who can play this game for us at this point. 90 guys on the roster, but as I said, you take out the starters, and then beyond that you take out the guys that you would have seen who are banged up.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty long list of inactives.
Boy, it really is. And it's funny how it creeps up on you during a training camp where, look at we're sitting here, and then all of a sudden MJ Stewart is all wrapped up on his left leg, and he's coming over, and he's going to condition rather than be able to go out on the field. But it really does. The numbers all of a sudden, you think you're doing really well as far as good health and not having injuries, and then the next thing you know, you have a bunch of players on the sideline.
The interesting part about it is really it's all on the defense.
Yeah.
On the offense, it's Anthony Schwartz hasn't practiced. You're easing Odell back, but everybody's healthy. Your running backs are all healthy. Your quarterbacks are all healthy.
Yeah.
Your tight ends are all healthy. With the exception of Alexander Hollins, and Anthony Schwartz, you're pretty healthy at wide receiver.
And Hubbard's been in and out,
and
I think it sounded like Hubbard might play a little bit on Saturday
just to get him some work. Yeah, your whole second-team line is. It really is all on it's just concentrated on that defensive side of the ball. All right, hour one in the books. The Browns going through what I would call a jog-through practice today, not in pads, here at the Cross Country Mortgage campus in Berea. The voice of the Cleveland Browns, Jim Donovan, Nathan Zegura. Hour number 2 coming up. We'll talk with one of the guys who has a big opportunity ahead of him on Saturday. Cameron Malveaux joins us for an exclusive one-on-one that's coming up here in hour number 2 of Cleveland Browns Daily. I'm good. All right, welcome back to Cleveland Browns Daily. Nick Chubb busting off a long run up the middle. The Browns practicing on the field farthest from the bleachers today. The weather, though, seems to be good. It is hot. It is muggy here at the Cross Country Mortgage campus. Elk and Elk, serious lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK, Ohio for your free case review. Elk and Elk is a proud partner of the Cleveland Browns. The Browns going through some team drills there. Speed picking up a little bit, but again, no pads today, so kind of just getting some good looks, some good work there as the offense and defense going through their paces, getting ready for Jacksonville. But earlier, Jim, and you even got a little yell from you, Donovan Peoples-Jones with another tremendous catch in traffic where he just kind of levitated and snagged, high-pointed it.
Perfectly covered, by John Johnson. Boy, there's a nice catch by Harrison Bryant. Perfectly bracketed by John Johnson and Greedy Williams, and he went up. I mean, he looked like Lynn Swann with that great catch against the Cowboys. And he goes up and he just wins the ball and comes down and makes the play. He's just having a great camp.
He most certainly is. And another guy that we're hoping will continue because he's looked great since coming back after missing the opening part of camp, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and he will be unleashed against the Jacksonville Jaguars this Saturday night. That's definitely one of the big reasons to tune in. And he spoke with our media earlier today.
Appreciate you joining us.
You're down.
Time to speak with our media today. We're going to open up to questions now. The first question will be from Tom Withers.
Thanks, Rob. Hey, Will, you're going to see Trevor Lawrence again. What are your expectations just going into your first game? I know you were a little late getting into camp for various reasons, but what are your expectations going into Saturday?
My expectations are obviously high. You want to go into the game believing that you prepared yourself right. I had a little 10-day setback, but nothing that was too detrimental. As far as the opponent, I've seen a couple of the guys before, so it won't be nothing too unfamiliar. And looking forward to it and looking to see what the outcome is.
Are you fully up to speed then? Are you expecting to play, as many snaps as you would hope?
Yeah, I'm probably looking to play a lot. Just to, because I did miss those 10-day in-game or in-practice reps. I'll probably play a lot come the game, but, we'll see.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, Tom. We'll go to Scott Petrick.
Hey, Jeremiah. So what is it you want to show personally Saturday night?
Yeah, personally, it's really nothing that, I want to show personally for me because, I think of myself highly. I think of myself as a ball player that, knows how to play the game of football. But, it's really just to impress the team, impress the coaches, show that I can contribute in the best way that I can and hopefully, earn my spot. So.
What do you think you have to do to show the coaches that?
Well, just execute the game plan, be physical at the point of attack, making sure that I get off blocks, just what a linebacker is supposed to do, and just what a football player is supposed to do. So,
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Scott. Nate Ulrich, go ahead.
Jeremiah, how did what you thought you were able to do virtually during that absence? How did that keep you up to speed compared to what you were thinking it was going to do for you, and then getting on the field? Were they two different things? Were you as up to speed?
No, that's a great question. I thought I was up to speed when I, first came back. I was like, I did the walkthroughs, I ran through the plays in my mind, ran through the plays on the whiteboard and things like that. But like I told the media a couple of days back, it's nothing really like those in-game or those in-practice reps to be able to simulate exactly, how it feels to be out there, to have other guys coming at you, ready to block you and trying to execute, being able to process things in less than a split second. And, I'm not too far back, and I'm not far back at all in my mind, but those things do come with experience.
And you think Saturday night's a chance to kind of get rolling that way?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Saturday night would be, a good experience for me to be able to get those reps that I was missing and things like that. So I think it'll be a catch-up for me.
Thank you, Nate. Jeff Shadell has our next question.
So I know you kind of touched on it. What is the biggest thing you have learned how the NFL is different in the time you have been out there practicing?
Well, just to kind of slow things down in your mind, to really understand the game of football. High school, college, a little bit college, more so. During the process of your younger years of playing, you can go out there, use the best athlete, and you just do what you want to do. But as you move up, as you level up in the sport that you play, more information is required, more understanding, more IQ is required. And that's just the biggest thing that I've learned is just to really buy in on the game of football. You get your body right, and my body is right. You work out and you do all these things, but until you fully grasp the mental aspect of the game, you never can truly be successful.
Thank you, Jeff. Dan Lobby will go to you.
Hey, Jeremiah, now that you're kind of on the field and going through these practices, I mean, just how much does Joe Woods ask out of his linebackers? How much does he ask you guys?
Well, the linebackers are almost like the quarterbacks of the defense. They are like the quarterbacks of the defense. The linebackers are called upon to make the tackle almost 100% of the time, to be around the ball 100% of the time, just like the quarterbacks are called to touch the ball 100% of the time. So it's almost, likewise the same thing, being able to call the offense, being able to call the defense. So, that's how we think of it, and that's how we think of it when it comes to Coach Wood's expectations of us is to be able to lead the defense and call the correct plays and be able to make the changes when necessary.
And then how much of it helped you to have a guy like Anthony Walker around?
Yeah, and is a huge leader, huge exemplar of what it means to be able to lock in and day out, to be able to even get out there yesterday and I can see how beneficial he was there yesterday. And he's really a leader especially for the young guys because he really keys in on the smaller aspects of the game, not really the broad aspects in terms of the entire plays, but he'll get you down and sit you down to focus on the small formations of the offense, being able to focus on the personnel, being able to focus on the small keys that the quarterback may give you. So he's been extreme help for the young guys and specifically me. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Daryl Ryder is next. Daryl, you're unmuted on my side if you would like to check your mic. I believe we have you now, Daryl.
Now that you've had an opportunity to really be out there on the field for a couple of practices, Jeremiah, do you get a sense of how your versatility is really going to be able to be exploited in Joe Woods' defense here?
Let me see. Would you ask you're saying how would my
You're a versatile player. That's obviously why the Browns drafted you. So my question to you is now that you've actually had an opportunity to be on the field and get some reps and team you now really visualize how you fit into what they want to do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just being able to be that guy that can cover, being able to be that guy that can get from point A to point B, or point A to point C as we would call it, because that B you got another guy that's in between you. So just being able to be that guy that adds another aspect to the defense and to add another aspect to the linebacker core. I mean, we have 5 fast guys as well, but I think when we understand the expectations that he has for me, it more relies on the speed, more relies on the quickness and the listening ability and things like that. So when I'm in, he does call a lot of blitzes and a lot of things that kind of match my skill set. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that can prosper.
Thanks, Daryl. Mary Kay Cabot, you have our next question.
Hi, yeah, Jeremiah, just wondering, with you missing a little bit of time and, Grant Delpit and Anthony and guys really in and out of the lineup from a defensive standpoint, what makes you feel really good about the fact that you guys will be able to get your time together, get your rhythm going together, and be ready when the time comes for Casey?
Yeah, is absolutely needed. And it makes it makes the coaches comfortable. It makes the players comfortable to be able to have those preseason games, to be able to catch a rhythm, to be able to understand. And you have building of team chemistry during practice, but when you get into the game atmosphere, it's slightly different. People will say, "Oh, it's just football," but it's slightly different when you get to the game and being able to understand the type of atmosphere and the type of speed that's going on. You can't really simulate it. So when we get to that game and being able to play together and being able to play with whoever is on the field, that'll be a good experience and will be a good learning lesson to be able to move on to KC. So.
Thank you, Mary Kate. We have time for one more question. Tom Withers, go ahead.
Thanks, Rob. Hey, what's it like dealing with Travis Etienne in space?
I'm not going to say too much. Etienne has had our battles, but he's a great guy. Great guy, being able to be shifty, being able to be fast, and to do what he does best. As you can see, he's been very successful with what he does, and we'll be looking forward to whatever he brings to the table. So.
Is that the toughest challenge in your job? You mentioned it before. Covering guys. How difficult is it to cover an NFL running back who's coming at you at full speed and can go in any direction?
Yeah.
30.
I think of it almost as a mental thing first. Being able to calm your spirit down, being able to calm yourself down when you do have somebody else coming full speed at you, to be able to key in on one aspect of him, whether it's the hips, whether it's the shoulders or whatever. Being able to not jump when he does his first move and things like that. It's very difficult, but the good players will eventually overcome that. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Jeremiah, thank you for the time today. Have a great practice.
You're up.
Coramo, who will be in action for the Browns this Saturday down in Jacksonville, working on some special teams drills on the far side now. And I'll tell you, they did not do a couple things to Mike Prefer's satisfaction earlier. Things we can't say on these airwaves, but he was not pleased. We're far away, and we heard him loud and clear, Jim.
This is not the Pat McAfee show?
No. If it were, we would have given it to y'all in its entirety there. But
I have to tell you, who's having a pretty good day. Maybe Mike Prefer, really read the riot act, but Jamie Gillen is dropping some punts inside the red zone that is just really dropping them right on the 1 yard line and getting, he deadens the ball down there. He has gotten very, very adept at that.
Yeah, he's added a little touch to his power game, and we saw him working on it on the field in front of us. The crowd was even applauding. He had one that ended up down right at the 1 inch line, and he was just hanging, and the Gunners were able to get under them and recover those kicks right at the goal line. And so, it has been a nice day for the Scottish Hammer, a nice day for some of the tight ends as well. We'll take a break. When we come back, we will go around the league, and we'll talk about a tweet from the Dallas Cowboys that is one of the more interesting tweets I've seen in my days in the National Football League. We'll talk about that and some more news from around the NFL. That is coming up next. Jim Donovan, Nathan Zegura, Cleveland Browns Daily. All right, welcome back to Cleveland Browns Daily. If your game plan for this season includes buying or selling a home, Howard Hanna Real Estate Services has you covered. Visit howardhanna.com/GoBrowns. Today, Browns getting a little 7-on-7 action on one side of the field, some work on the kicking game right here. We saw an incredible putting up of the net that's involved. How many people does it take to get the net up? Well,
I have
today,
to tell you something. If they were on one of those boats on Deadliest Catch, I don't think it would go very well.
No.
Yeah.
We might have capsized the boat there. We were having some real problems.
We wouldn't have caught anything.
That is for darn sure.
Do you ever see those guys operate? They should bring those guys out here off one of those boats.
Well, once they got the guys who had the gloves
real
and
guys,
the pros out here, it was done and done in a hurry. Cody Parkett kicking on a goalpost that's half the size of a normal goalpost, and they're making some nice kicks. He and Chase McLaughlin here. We got the net situation sorted out. 7-on-7's going on the other side of the field. And I mentioned going into the break, we're going to go around the league now. And we talked about Rashad Bateman's got that groin surgery slated to return sometime in September. But how about this tweet, Jim? And I don't know if you saw this from the Dallas Cowboys. Here's a tweet. It is a direct quote. "It's not a setback, period. And it's not a reason to worry, period. But quarterback Dak Prescott is planning on getting another MRI, period."
Wow.
I'm worried.
Yeah, I would be worried, yes.
Especially if I'm a Cowboy fan. It felt like they were trying to start off with a Jedi mind trick at the beginning. It's not a setback. There's nothing to worry about.
In a world.
That's right. But we're going to hit you with Dak. If you're getting another MRI, it means that
there's something going on.
You're not recovering the way you want to.
Or you do not feel right.
You don't feel right.
Yeah, you don't feel right. Gosh.
So I would worry about that. That's something that I would worry about.
Now, that's been that's been coming out of that camp anyway, what's been going on with him.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been smooth sailing at all so far.
And isn't Garrett Gilbert the
He
top remaining quarterback?
Yeah, he is. Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So I watched him in the Hall of Fame game. Yeah.
We certainly did see him in the Hall of Fame game. We also do have football tonight. You talked about Washington football team at New England. As we talked earlier, both Cam Newton and Mac Jones will play in that one for the Patriots, who are looking to kind of figure out what they're going to be doing on the offensive side of the ball. They will not have Hunter Henry, who was expected to be a big part of what they were going to do. He's got a shoulder injury and not sure when he'll be back. Jonnu Smith, the big tight end from Tennessee, will be there. Damian Harris, the young running back who played well for them down the stretch a year ago, likely to be the main man. And then Gibbe can't help himself. Pittsburgh is playing the Philadelphia Eagles in a Pennsylvania game. Gibbe always calls them Pitts Puke on the rundown.
I do not give them any credit. None.
Yeah, they've been pretty good for a long time, Gibbe.
I
have respect for them.
I don't mind their city.
I have respect for them.
I like the city.
The city is.
Yeah, I think I like going over there. I mean, the bridges can be a little tough if you're driving. If you're going the right
way.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, you can end up in Cranberry a lot over there,
the
or at IKEA.
Yes,
on the way over there. And I think the Philadelphia situation is interesting to watch. What's going on there? With the quarterback situation with Jalen Hurts, and what's going to happen? Does Deshaun Watson at some point become part of the plan with the Eagles? But let me just say this: being a homegrown Boston boy and really stay in touch with people there, it is 24/7 there about Mac Jones, Cam Newton, and what goes on at Patriots camp. I mean, reporters break in the moment there is any kind of a bad throw. We go live to Bryant College. I think they trained down in Rhode Island, actually, and they cut in with Cam Newton just threw an interception. It's amazing. And I say that because growing up there, the Patriots were so far down the food chain when I was growing up there in that area that it was amazing. I mean, it was Red Sox 365 days of the year. And even though, Terry Francona and John Farrell have won World Series there and Alex Cora, is back after winning a World Series there, the Patriots dominate the news cycle, the sports news cycle in Boston. So it is, they just have correspondents everywhere watching what's going on with the quarterback situation post Tom Brady in anticipation of that Sunday when Tom Brady comes back.
Town. What's that, week 4?
I'm going to tell you. I mean, that's going to be a day.
The
a
big
historic
news,
day there.
That's the top ticket in the NFL.
Oh,
it's the most expensive ticket
absolutely.
in the league.
I'm sure they broke in today. Mac Jones from number 50 to number 10
Oh.
on the roster. So I'm sure that was big news today.
Oh, wow. He got
Out
a
at,
quarterback
Patriots
number.
camp. Yes.
Good for him. Good to see. No, Jim, when the Celtics had their runs, when you got, Garnett and Pierce and Ray Allen, and obviously in the 80s too, Larry Bird, those great Celtics teams. But were they – so I would imagine the 80s it would go Red Sox-Celtics or Celtics-Red Sox, then Patriots?
Believe it or not, even through all those championships that the Celtics have won, 17, they have never been on the top of the food chain. Even when they were winning every year, it was Red Sox, Bruins, Celtics, Patriots. Actually, Boston College, Patriots. That's how far down in the food chain they were. And even during the Cousy, Russell, Havlicek, Dave Cowens, Casey Jones, Sam Jones, and then graduating into the Larry Bird, Mikhail Parrish, all that DJ. Yeah. The Celtics were always kind of taken for granted. But it was Red Sox, Bruins, big hockey town.
Yeah.
Bobby Orr, Phil Esposito, Ray Bourque, all of that. Then the Celtics. Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing.
Yeah.
And then
but
now
once,
Patriots.
Really probably once Parcells went there to become the head coach of the team, even pre-Belichick. But once Parcells went there and Robert Kraft bought the team, they started to come up the food chain. And then when Belichick came in and then the move from Bledsoe to Brady, that's it. They went up to the top. And they are on Everest compared to the other franchises.
Were they considered a one-year wonder the Super Bowl loss to the Bears? Or were they?
Oh, yeah.
No one gave a second thought?
Remember, they were a wild card team. They knocked off the Raiders. They knocked off the Dolphins.
85, 86.
Yeah, right. And, so you're talking about the Raymond Berry one.
Yes.
Yeah, when they lost to the Super Bowl Shuffle Bears.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They were a great story. And then remember, in the locker room after they lost that Super Bowl, there was like a fist fight because a drug story came out that there were Patriots, using drugs, marijuana, things like that. And it was Sean McDonough's dad, Will McDonough, who was really the big football writer and went on really to be one of the first football writers to go on network TV. He went to NBC. And that kind of really, post that Super Bowl against the Bears, they became kind of an embarrassment. And then they faltered. They were a one-year wonder, and they really were a one-year wonder. Yeah. But now they are the Kings, and they win it by a landslide.
Where are the allegiances in Boston to Brady and the Patriots right now?
Good question. I would say definitely through the year. When Brady left, there was anger towards him. When he started to play for the Bucs and when the Patriots fans and the Boston sports crowd saw what was left, it became very anti-Belichick, pro-Brady, which then accelerated through the year because Tampa Bay was really starting to put it together and go on to win the Super Bowl. So it's really pro-Brady.
I know some people who, my buddy Pat in town, from families from the Boston area, season ticket holders to the Patriots, who have season tickets now to the Bucs as well.
Wow!
Because they want to go watch. They're all Tommy, 100% Team Tommy.
Yeah. I mean, they really are. Yeah. So it really is fascinating. But I know, for instance, just throw by throw in Boston, they jump in on the radio.
Well, think about it. We used to have where you would get the reports after practice. Quarterback A was 10 of 14 in 7-on-7s. Gibbe used to do this.
Raise your right hand.
How nice is it that we don't have to do that anymore?
You used to chart every throw, right, in practice?
I believe one of the Hasselbacks on ESPN radio called me a hack on national.
Why?
Because they were like, this guy, whatever these numbers are that are coming out, they don't attribute to this or that. And I'm like, look, it's not rocket science. Like, I only was charting like during 11-on-11s. And it was just like, it's either a catch or it's not a catch. And I prefaced it with that. Like, there was no exact science. There was no analytics.
Listen, completions and incompletions in the NFL stats are a factual result. Was the pass completed?
Oh yeah, no,
or was it not?
there were a couple
Was it
people.
Elizabeth Hasselbeck? Or
No, it was. I think it was her husband. He was on Mike and Mike.
well, that would have been him. Yeah.
Yes.
This is like the tumbleweed scene from Big Lebowski.
Things
The
are just
opening credits.
flying all over.
We got a medicine ball just blowing by. In the tumbling tumbleweed. All right, we're obviously having too much fun out here at the Cross Country Mortgage Campus. Practice ongoing to our right. Again, a lighter day today, not in pads. We will have more, including our exclusive one-on-one with the guy to watch for on Saturday. Cameron Malveaux worked on his body in the offseason, has had a great offseason. People buzzing about his training camp so far inside the building. We'll see what he can do against the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's a big storyline, these defensive ends. Cameron Malveaux, one-on-one, next. Yep. Obsessing over something like football can be a problem, but if you're obsessing over gambling, that can be downright dangerous. So do something to take your mind off it, like finding a hobby. Want more tips like this? Go to keepitfunohio.com for great ways to keep gambling fun. The Browns doing some field goal kicking right now. Cody Parkey had a nice start to his session. The ones, at least, that I saw all went in. Chase McLaughlin missed his first one and bounced back there. That looked like it was right down the middle, and indeed it was. You said something I thought that was so on point at the beginning of today's show, Jim, and that was that this is a game of opportunity, and there's no bigger opportunity, I would say, than in the defensive end room. Myles Garrett will not play. Jadeveon Clowney, I would say, unlikely to play. Takk McKinley will not play. And so for guys like Cameron Malveaux and Porter Gustin and Curtis Weaver, this is the opportunity to make a statement that you belong on this roster, and no better way to make a statement like that than to get to the quarterback on Saturday night down in Jacksonville. I got caught up with Cameron Malveaux. 2 sacks in his NFL career. He's bounced around the league since the 2017 season. Spent some time with Arizona, some time with Miami, Kansas City, San Francisco, and ended up on the Browns last year, active for 2 games and looking to do even more in 2021.
Defensive end Cameron Malveaux. And Cameron, listen, first preseason game, always a big opportunity, but let's just go ahead and take a step back here. How has this training camp been for you so far?
It's been great. It's been a grind. It's everything I thought it'd be. It's everything Coach Fancy talks about with us working, putting in the work, trying to be tough, resilient, building that callus, and becoming a tough football team, and I love it. So I embrace it.
All right, take me inside this D-line room. You've got Myles Garrett. You got Jadeveon Clowney. Takk was here. Guys who have done a lot at this level here. When you have kind of guys like that in the room, you know, as a younger player, you're picking their brains. What's it been like having those guys in there?
Man, it's just been me being cerebral, man. I kind of just take everything they give me. I kind of just watch them, and, you know, I want to study every single one of their movements, man, and just take everything I can because there's a lot of greatness in that room. So, like I said, just staying cerebral and learning everything I can from them.
What's the best piece of advice or maybe the best thing that you've kind of observed and incorporated into your game from those guys?
I think playing fast. I know I can make plays, and they know I can make plays. And I think the main thing was them having me not focus on so much on thinking too much and being a football player. So I think just putting my ears back and going, I think that's the best bit of advice I got from them.
And you got a taste of being on the active roster last year. What was that experience like for you?
It was good, man. I mean, the thing is, I didn't expect Cleveland to be that big with their fans, but man, it was very welcoming to play in front of those guys, and I loved it. I mean, it was a great opportunity to to show the work that I put in, and it was good, man.
Yeah, these fans are crazy. Get ready. It's going to be even crazier this year.
Man, I love it, man. I can't wait, and shoot, go Browns Nation.
That's right. All right, let's talk about Saturday. Because, look, Myles not going to play most likely. Jadeveon probably not going to play. Takk is, hopefully we'll be getting him back here soon. But this is a real opportunity, a real showcase for the guys in your room to get a lot of reps and get an opportunity. I've seen you get some reps with the ones when Myles and Jadeveon have been out. Right. What are you expecting in this game, and how big is this one? What does it mean to you?
I think the biggest thing is just showing what I could do. I mean, I put in the work. I'm confident. I am confident that I can do my job, and I got to take it just like I don't want to say it's a normal day, but I can't make it bigger than what it is. I'm a professional athlete. I have to be a professional, and I know how to be. So I just got to show that.
Yeah, and listen, when they talk about it, they say long. Every time I ask somebody about Cameron Malveaux, they say he's long. He's got those long limbs. And you're standing right next to me. I'm a tall guy. You're much taller than I am. So how do you kind of incorporate that length and use that to your advantage?
I think there's certain things I could do with my skill set, and I feel like getting guys' hands off me pretty fast. I feel like that's a good thing that I have, and using my length to kind of extend to where they can't grab me. So I think that's always a competitive advantage with my position. So I think that's the main thing is my arms longer than theirs.
Yeah. What does Coach Kiffin wanted you to really work on? I know everybody who left last year at the end, you got kind of an action plan. What did you work on, and have you seen kind of the success of that work?
Well, that's the thing. I kind of went in the lab, and I gained 20 pounds of muscle. So I came back, and I think the main thing was just showing that strength that I was able to get in the weight room and all the work I put in over the offseason. So I think just the physicality of my game went up, and I think that's been the main thing I'm trying to display.
All right, listen, for guys like me, who wouldn't want to put on 20 pounds of muscle? What was the secret?
I'm not gonna lie, it just took a lot of discipline, eating the right things, doing extra. Man, like I said, I kind of went in like a hyperbolic time chamber and just went in, man. It's just a constant grind and just being a professional in my off season.
Absolutely. You've come back and you've had a great offseason. Everybody I've talked to, your name has come up in that regard. So now an opportunity on Saturday night in Jacksonville to take that next step, and you're getting good work, right? You go against these tackles in practice, especially when you're going against Jed and Jack. Mm-hmm. How have those working against them helped you?
Those are two talented dudes, and I feel like, who wouldn't want to get some of the best work with those guys? So I mean, it's been good. They've been showing me some things. They've been kind of giving me tips here and there, and I've been, I've been taking it and just running with it. So, I just love competing, and those are two competitive dudes, and I've just been embracing it. So I love it.
All right. Well, we love seeing what you're doing out.
30.
Big night again, and wishing you the best. But before I let you go, I always like to ask people this. What's something you want Browns fans to know about when they see Malveaux running on the field, when they see number 69? What do you want them to be thinking about when they see you take the field wearing the orange and brown?
When I take the field, I want them to know that I'm giving them literally every single inch of my energy, and I'm exerting that out on the field, and I'm giving them everything I got. That's all I want them to know.
And that's going to play very well in this town. Everything is earned here in Cleveland. Cameron, best of luck to you this Saturday night and the rest of this offseason, and I'm excited to see what you can do out there.
Appreciate it, man.
You're up.
20 pounds of muscle, Jim.
No, so he gained 20. Harrison Bryant gained 13.
Yep.
Denzel Ward gained 9. Andrew Billings lost 20.
That's right. And Jordan
the weight
Elliott,
game is big.
Jordan Elliott said he lost some as well,
really?
And that they actually now want him to put weight back on to get his strength back up there. Talk about his quickness. So now we're getting into our first, if we could call it a little game planning for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Case Keenum taking some snaps, hitting Demetric Felton. You have your starters on offense playing scout team defense, including Baker Mayfield wearing number 35, playing a little safety for the Browns scout team defense here as they kind of go through just, a very much a walkthrough for the guys that are going to be playing. And you're seeing Case Keenum lead out that offensive line that's got Nick Harris and Blake Hance out there. It's got James Hudson, Greg Sinat, Michael Dunn, who has made a real impression on the coaches after his great performance against the Steelers in the playoffs a year ago. You got Jarvis playing some corner, the Chief at linebacker, Hoop at linebacker, Baker at safety. I mean, this is actually
OBJ.
Nick Chubb. Was that Nick? Who's in the was that
OBJ's over on the corner.
OBJ's corner. Nick Chubb playing safety. This is like an out-of-position Madden game right here.
OBJ is in a team drill.
You'll love it. Hey, here comes Kareem Hunt off the bench, filling in.
That's great.
Going through, and this is what you do, getting ready for the Jacksonville Jags, and just a teeny little bit of preparation there. Cameron Malveaux, though, he has taken it seriously. He will be, in his mind, hopefully one of the starting defensive ends, but he'll be in that top rotation with Porter Gustin and Curtis Weaver. Still so much more to come here from the Cross Country Mortgage campus. Nathan Zegura, Jim Donovan, as we get ready for the Browns and the Jags in just 2 days, the preseason opener 2021. You are listening to Cleveland Browns Daily. Be sure to tune in tonight at 7 o'clock for the debut of the Kevin Stefanski Show, all along the University Hospital's Cleveland Browns radio network. Coach and second-year tight end Harrison Bryant joined Ken Carman and myself on the show tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. You were on the preview show last night. That means it's real. That means we're into game weeks, right. And it is coming. The opener this Saturday down in Jacksonville. The voice of the Browns, Jim Donovan, been kind enough to be with us all week. Jim, can't thank you enough. It has been a real pleasure.
And I will see you in Jacksonville.
Yes, you will. That's right, along with a lot of other guys who will be on the sidelines with me, not participating down there for the Cleveland Browns as we look to keep this team healthy headed into week 1. Practice wrapping up here at the Cross Country Mortgage campus. The next level is next for Gibbs and Jim Donovan, the voice of the Cleveland Browns. Nathan Zegura saying thanks for listening to another edition of Cleveland Browns Daily.